I was a very rebellious kid. I was a very often words were used as like troubled or too much, like I had a lot of issues as a kid. Always asked myself why. And as I've become an adult and I really get to look back and from a different point of view, I think the whole idea of not feeling like a sense of belonging was probably where it all rooted from. I was very different. My dad's Chinese, my mom's Irish, one of the only Asian kids in my school, and definitely felt like an outsider. I've been telling myself I've been testing my mind by doing all these hard things physically and doing like really long journeys, like endurance events and stuff, and I've never really tested my mind, Sitting still for 5 minutes is the hardest thing. Just face my thoughts and actually hear myself. I started to recognize anytime you're uncomfortable, you move. I do believe in moving the energy. I do think that's a huge part of my way of dealing with life, and I love fitness for that purpose, but I'm also hyper aware of the fact that it's a great way to avoid and to escape and to get as far away from my thoughts as possible. So every time I wanted to do that, I wouldn't let myself. There's a big difference between starting a brand and starting a business. One is not better than the other, but if you're trying to build a brand, which is what you have done and what I have done too, then what is the identity that you want to portray? What is the mission of the brand? And where do you want to go? And how do you want to impact the world?
The Big Silence, empowering personal experiences, inspiring compassion, and healing lives. We are no longer silent. We are here.
The Big Silence.
Welcome to The Big Silence, Hannah Eden.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we've just been catching up here. I've obviously been stalking you because I know about your road trip journeys in 2021. And what was your podcast called?
Get Peeled?
Get Peeled, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you still doing that?
You know what? I put it on hiatus for a second.
Yeah.
I'm the person that likes to do all these things. I'm like, let's put things in order of importance. And that wasn't at the top,
Well, that's fun, though, because you're traveling and you're fifth wheel all around the country. How 7 months? 10 months.
Yeah.
With your husband.
Yes.
Oh,
It was a good challenge for our marriage.
You know what? You made it through 2020, 2021.
I know.
A lot of people didn't. And you were on the road.
Yeah. And I know you know that. Like
Yeah.
when you put each other in felt like a Coke can or a soda can.
Yeah.
Where you got nowhere to go but to face each other for 10 months.
Yeah.
We've been together it'll be married 10 years this year, 15 years together. And that was probably the most challenging year of our marriage.
Any secrets out there?
Communication. We had to learn how to communicate because there wasn't any like, I'm going to the gym or I'm going to the office. It's like, all right, well, we better sit here and figure this out.
And communication and learning how each other think. And like, because you could be like, I want ice cream. And he's like, did you say screw you? No, I just...
Whoa. Exactly.
But all right. So Hannah, you are a fitness superstar.
Oh, that's so sweet. So are you.
And I remember you with pink hair, Women's Health, DVD. When was that?
That was like 2018,
There's
2017.
still DVDs in 2017.
Can you believe that?
I mean, we got DVDs, but we launched our app in 2017. But yeah, up until then. And then we still wanted DVDs. People wanted the DVDs still.
You know what? We would buy them in wholesale and sell them on our website.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure people still ask for them. I'm like, I don't even have a DVD player.
I know.
How do you watch this stuff?
I know. I miss the old days of PDFs and DVDs.
I still think that PDFs are going strong.
Are they? Because I want to bring it back.
In my world, they are.
Yeah.
But we also have an app, but we deliver through both mediums. Just, some people want to print it out and have it in a ring binder, and some people want to mark it complete on an app.
I want to print it out.
Me too. I like to write notes.
See,
and
my notes in front of me. Some people, when you go on a podcast, they have their computer.
Yeah.
I'm like, print this
I'm
shit
the same
out.
way. Highlighter, I need a
Yeah,
pencil. Yeah.
So I want to talk about how you got to your fitness journey, because I feel like there's, from my research, some similarities there. Let's go back to you as a kid in the UK.
Oh, man. Those are the days, huh?
Yeah.
Transformative years. Yeah, I have had a lot of therapy and done a lot of inner work. And I look back in hindsight, and actually had my family here last week, and this conversation came up. I was a very rebellious kid. I was a very, often words were used as like troubled or too much, like I had a lot of issues as a kid. And I always asked myself why. And, as I've become an adult and I really get to look back and from a different point of view, I think the whole idea of not feeling like a sense of belonging
Mhm.
was probably where it all rooted from. I was very different. You know, my dad's Chinese, my mum's Irish.
Mhm.
I was only one of the only Asian kids in my school, and definitely felt like an outsider.
Mhm.
And I think that over the years, I tried to find a place where I belonged, and me not feeling like I was part of a community kind of had me act out in different ways and show up with some demons, you know?
Yeah. How was home life?
Home life was great.
Yeah.
Home life was really great. My parents are still together now. They've been together since they were 16. They're madly in love. Like home life was not an issue.
Right.
My dad worked a lot.
Mhm.
My mum did a lot of taking care of us, but my dad became successful in his life, whereas he grew up with not much at all.
Mhm.
You know, in hindsight, I do look at the way that he was raised, and maybe there was some of that poured over to our childhood, but not that I was conscious of as a
Mhm.
child. His parents had an arranged marriage,
Okay.
so there wasn't necessarily this idea of love, although he
Mhm.
loved my mum very much. My dad shows love in a very different way,
Yeah.
but I always felt loved. I think that the bit I have like this core memory of changing who I
Mhm.
was. Like I was raised in a nice home. I used to speak very well. And then I went to my first public school
You
where
still speak very well.
oh,
by the
thank
way.
you very much.
Very proud.
Thank you. Where I felt different. I remember this moment being
Yeah.
like, okay, if I want to fit in, then I need to change the way I speak. I need to roll my skirt up a bit shorter. I need
Mhm.
to not be a dork. I need to be a cool kid and feel like I belonged in this group of popular kids, I guess. And I did
Yeah.
whatever it took to get there. And that's a shame, you know.
Then you're feeling inauthentic to yourself and
Totally.
you're rebelling against yourself. So then you're outwardly rebelling.
Absolutely. And then that became my identity. Like if I hurt people and if I intimidate people, then no one can hurt me. I was bullied a lot for being Chinese when I was younger and bullied a lot for having a lower voice, like random things that I didn't think were much, but it really affected me as a kid.
Do you think about that being a new mom?
Oh, yeah.
1-year-old as of this weekend.
Yes.
I mean, you've got some time
Yes.
to figure it out. But
Yeah.
I'm not a parent, but I would imagine like being concerned about having a teenager.
Oh my gosh, especially in today's social
Mhm.
media era, you know, like that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And what you can do to, I guess, build a line of communication.
Yeah.
Feel comfortable to talk.
Yeah. Well, not that I'm here giving parenting advice.
I'll take any.
Yes. They marry you, so be good. I don't know. So you're in the UK. How do you end up in the US?
Yeah, so I was in a really bad place. Like I'd really rebelled and gotten out pretty far. Probably gave my parents a lot of gray hairs.
Mhm.
And my dad had an opportunity to take a job in the US, and I was in a really bad place. And I think as I grew older, I thought that we were moving because my dad's job transferred. But I've had many conversations with my parents like this was an opportunity for us to get you out and to start again. I was dating a convicted felon,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was like
Go.
15, you know, and
I might have done that too.
you know, I don't know why. I just clung to the kids that were so scary that they would protect me, you know?
Yeah.
And so we did. I hated my parents. I went kicking and screaming, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, that's a lot at that age to move from the UK to the US.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Was it to Florida then?
It was to Massachusetts to
Oh,
begin, which is where
oh.
my dad's job transfer was. Finished up high school and then was like, peace out. I'm going to
Mhm.
Florida.
Yeah.
The sun, the beach, you know?
Yeah. So that would be 18. Were you into fitness yet, or where were you mentally?
Yeah, I had some issues in high school. So I moved here when I was into Massachusetts when I was 16. And I think I went from a really like interesting public school in the UK where there was so many different diversities. And I went to a very wealthy town in Western Massachusetts. Stood out like a sore thumb again, but kind of had this harder exterior. So I felt like I was okay. And I actually started to work out then, but I was not healthy. I was chewing on laxatives and doing all kinds of stuff as far as my relationship with food was not great or with my own body image. But I started dating a kid that was into the gym. And so I loved the gym. I was always an athlete when I was younger, but then fell into being a rebel and let go of the athleticism. Oh my gosh, I can't even speak. And yeah, I went back to the gym in high school and fell in love with that. And then when I went to Florida, no.
No.
Florida was like my years of let's rage.
Yeah.
You
You're
know.
in Miami?
Yeah, just at Fort Lauderdale, just
Okay.
outside.
Yeah. So did you go to college?
I did.
You did. What did you study?
Photography.
Okay.
I wanted to be like a fashion photographer that was following a rock and roll lifestyle and gone wild, you know, that was the dream.
Yeah. I wanted to be a professional raver. So
Seriously, me
or a
too.
DJ or something.
Yeah, that was my world.
So you get to Miami and, well, actually, when you were a kid, did you dream of being anything?
Not really.
Not a photographer?
Not when I
nothing?
was a kid. I had a really creative family. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I felt like that was very scary when we had to make that decision in high school.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot of pressure on a
It
kid.
is a lot of pressure. Like, what do you want to be for the rest of your life? Just choose now, and you have no idea what the world has to offer.
And you're a kid and you don't actually know what you're talking about, because I'm like, I want to be a veterinarian so I can pet cats all day.
Exactly.
And then back then, I want to be a personal trainer so I can work out all day.
Yeah. And then you're like, wait a second.
I've been tricked.
This is not what I thought it would be. No, I didn't really have anything I wanted to be. I wasn't that kid that wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I just was wondering till I found my spot and fell into fitness by accident.
So here you are, you're in your devious moment, living in Miami. And you're 18 now?
Now I'm,
Yeah.
18, 19.
Meeting really good quality people in the club.
Solid quality people. You know what? I actually met my husband when I was 19.
Oh.
So we've
okay.
been through that
it.
life
Okay.
together
Yeah.
and now have died and been reborn a lot.
That's impressive, because I was with someone in my early 20s for 6 years and we separated. I was moving on and he was still club scene LA. I was like, I can't do this. We did not grow together. So to be able to find a person and survive all of that and grow together is awesome.
Yeah, I was a very damaged, lost little girl when I met my husband, and he was the anchor. He's always been very solid. He loved to have fun. He still loves to have fun, but he had control.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. And I think that one of his biggest qualities is like allowing me to wander and explore who I am. And if that meant going through many different versions of myself, like he knew who I was at the core and held on to that, which I am so grateful for.
Did you know who you were?
Absolutely not. I think he saw who I was before I did.
He saw the good person in you and the potential, and like he brought it out of you.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
believed in it. Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, that's great. So you're bartending.
Yep. Bartending, shaking my booty, wearing a little
Oh.
bra on top of the bar, CO2 canisters everywhere, you know, that whole
Oh.
scene.
Mhm. So mentally at this point, so you're going to school, you're bartending, you're partying, you know, young at that age, we can handle it.
Yeah.
But mentally, how are you?
Mentally, not great. I think, you know, this trait still shines in me, but it's channeled into a good place and from a lot of healing too, of like, I watched my dad work so much and I thought that was super admirable. And so I definitely became that person and thought if you showed up first and left last, that you'll be the hardest worker in the room mentality. And I did that in anything that I did. So if it meant partying, I went the hardest I possibly could, right? If it meant school, I graduated with best portfolio. Like I always applied myself really fully in any aspect, which
You're
is
here
good
to
or bad,
apply. Yeah.
you know? So I think at that point, I was burning the candle at both ends. I was working day shifts, night shifts, trying to go to school, chomping on all kinds of substances to try and be the best and perform the best and try and squeeze the orange dry every single day. And I think around 2012 is when I found fitness by accident, and I was still doing all those things. So then I just add another thing to the list, right, that I wanted to be good at, and that was interesting.
Well, I can see then possibly over time, less of the party, more of the gym. And it starts to use, I would guess, because similar to me too. When I was like, how am I going to change my life? When was I happy? Oh, I was a little kid running a half marathon. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this fitness thing again. And it's a slow healing process. And did you was there a moment where you finally were like, this party life is not for me anymore?
Yeah. I stayed in, I don't know if you ever worked in the party life, but in Florida, the money was great.
No, I never was a bartender.
Okay, I made a lot of money. And so I recognized whenever I started to stop getting so intoxicated that this could be something great, right? If I do this right. So I graduated from college, landed best portfolio, and then landed the dream job that I was working towards. And somewhere along that journey, I realized like, it's not the goal that I'm interested in. It's this journey of setting a goal that seems really hard and then working hard to reach it. On this entrepreneur mindset, right? That you need to have if you want to survive in this world. And I recognized that early on. So I remember graduating, getting this job, absolutely hating it, but I was also in the gym at the same time. And for the first time in my life, I was like, okay, the way that I used to watch people at art school feel about photography or whatever it was that they were doing, that must be what passion is. And I'd never really understood it. I was just going through the motions of it and achieving all the things. And when I found fitness, I was like, oh, wait, like, I think I'm really passionate about this. And this is something that I'm doing right now in my life where everything that I'm doing is not great. I'm taking Adderall to try and get best portfolio. I'm partying my ass off to try and stay up and make money and be like the life of the party. Then I find fitness, and it was almost giving me this same feeling that I think that I was searching for. And, you know, we can go into the darkness retreat maybe at another time, but it was in the darkness retreat that I recognized, like, my whole life I've been striving for attention.
I do want to talk about that later too. I'm so interested in that.
It was wild. And I'm like, wow, like all the things that I used to be so ashamed of, or these traits that I used to question, why do I have to be this person that has to prove it to who? Like, who am I trying to prove it to? I've done a lot of great things. I've quote unquote, whatever success means to you. I've found success, whatever that is, you know, like what am I striving towards? And I realized that over the years, it's always been recognition, attention. It's just shown up in different ways. I wanted attention when I was younger by acting out. Wanted attention by getting best portfolio. I wanted attention by being this crazy partier, right? And then I found fitness and was like, oh, I'm good at this. And I'm receiving attention, recognition, right? I started social media. People are watching what I'm doing. And this may be somewhere where I need to pour myself into a little bit further, because not only am I getting recognition myself, which I'm searching for, but it's so rewarding because I'm inspiring other people and I'm helping them feel seen as well. So it was like this crazy loop that I was able to close while in the darkness. And, you know, but I had a massive transition in my mind. So I said, you know what? I don't want to do photography anymore. I'm going to commit myself to doing 1 year of fitness. And at that time, I wanted to just be a CrossFit Games athlete.
Right. So you went straight into CrossFit.
Straight into CrossFit, 0 to 100.
How'd you do there? Any immediate injuries?
Absolutely. That's why I don't do it anymore. No, I got really good really quick, which actually wasn't helpful because I was doing all the heavy lifting and wasn't doing any of the maintenance, any of the recovery or accessory work, and ended up really messing up. I had like bulging discs and partial tears in my ligaments in my back. And so
then mentally, how are you there? Then you have bulging discs and you can't work out for how long?
I'm pushing through, right? So I'm still treating fitness as the wrong way.
Yeah.
The transition of being healthy and using fitness in a place to heal didn't really happen for 4 or 5 more years. But I was gaining exterior strength, right? So now I'm strong. Everything that I've been trying to seek for in my childhood. I'm achieving all these things. I'm getting recognized. It's still from the wrong place, right? And I was not eating well enough. I was super, super tiny before I got into fitness. And
how tall are you?
5'9".
5'9". And I was listening to something at one point you were 105.
Yeah, that's right. Before I got into fitness. That's wild, right?
I'm 5'10", and I could not imagine.
Yeah, crazy. So just skin and bones. Yeah.
Well, you healed from that then.
Yeah, that's been a constant journey.
Yeah.
You know, I think that will be something that I just have to be aware of for the rest of my life. But my relationship with food now is somewhat healthier than it used to be. I'm still conscious of it, but it doesn't come back and haunt me the way that it used to, you know? Yeah. I understand that food is fuel rather than I understand more about it.
You can't, if you're not watching this on YouTube, she must have a lot of protein.
Yes. Yes. I'm actually an endurance athlete right now. So I'm like 15 pounds lighter than I typically am.
Oh, wow. What are you training for?
An Ironman.
Which one?
It's in Italy, actually, in 16 days. 17 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
A
full Ironman.
Longest I've done is a half Ironman.
I just did my first one in June.
What one?
In Kona, in Hawaii.
I signed up for that, trained for it, and then I got, back then in my 20s, I was also doing sports and fitness modeling, and I actually got booked at a really good job in the UK. Oh. And I was like, Ironman Kona or job in the UK? I was like, I'll go to the UK. Got to make some money.
Yeah, so, right?
Oh, that must have been awesome.
It was very cool.
Yeah. All right. So you're in CrossFit, getting buff, fit, attention, but what's missing?
True identity. Like like, who am I? I was using fitness again as this place to try and avoid or escape or whatever. And honestly, it wasn't for years, like not even that long ago, that I realized like fitness is not a tool for me to cope. I used to avoid or try and escape, or I'd done all this personal work, right? And show up in social media, and I've got people that watch what I do. I put my life out there just like you know? And I remember getting to a point where I was like, man, am I everything that I say I am? Like, is this really the true Hannah? Or I used to be such an angry person that would flip my lid on nothing and be very angry. And all of that side just like vanished. And I'd wondered for years, has it really gone or am I hiding? Have I suppressed this part of myself and really not dealt with all the things that made me act and do all the things that I've done in my life, right? That showed up in a really negative way. And it wasn't probably till COVID when I got rid of the red hair and transitioned and became more like, this is who I am. And my hair doesn't define me, and all these achievements that I was getting is like, who am I? And it was a big life crisis.
The red hair was, I am a fiery bitch.
Yeah.
Don't mess
Don't
with
fuck
me.
with me. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It looked good though.
It did look really good. Not going to lie. I loved it. But I also was like, Hannah Eden, this person that I put myself out there to be, I never was working slow enough to ever meet myself and see if that's really who I was.
That's what I'm getting, because everything is for attention and this. And like, when do you discover you and really wanting to find out what you want and who you really are? Because there's that good person that your husband knows is in there.
Yeah. COVID, when we were forced to slow down, I remember it too. And writing a letter to myself and just like being in a really, really, really dark place of like, I've been moving so fast and chasing success, growth. Like, where are you going? Like, have you ever stopped to wonder, like, what is it that you want from life? Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What is it you're trying to achieve? And I'd never done that because my career took off very quickly. And then it was just go, 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 go. Like 20 plus days out of the month, I'm on the road. Yeah. Barely having time to stop and have a conversation with my husband, barely having the time to ask myself, like, are you okay? Like, I was showing up and putting this persona on to, my job is to inspire other people and to lead other people. Like, how about you? Like, how are you doing? You know, when have you ever stopped to ask yourself that? And COVID wrecked me and made me have this massive, like, okay, we need to stop and go inwards and really understand, like, who are you? What is it that you're trying to achieve?
Did you go to therapy?
Went to a lot of therapy. Yeah, it started with BetterHelp. I don't know if you've ever used that.
Yes, BetterHelp. Big silence. It's in our resources. Yeah.
Yeah, it started with that, and I found an incredible therapist through that platform, and then went on a really interesting spiritual journey.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that BetterHelp has helped.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
So talk therapy. Did you try anything else?
As far as
like therapies, plant medicine.
Plant medicine, yes.
What have you done there?
Psilocybin. I sit with incredible two facilitators that use a lot of natural stuff. You don't really know what you're going to get. So there's all different types of stuff that I've had. But the biggest thing for me was meditation that happened during COVID, before I started to dive deeper into self-discovery. But this whole idea of sitting still was such a weird concept for me because I'd just never done it. And
what made you say, I'm going to meditate?
When I sat in COVID and realized, like, oh, wait, even though I want to slow down, I can't. Like, it's like making me sick, you know?
Yeah,
like
you're holding your throat. It was just
yeah, totally. Like, so uncomfortable staying still. Yeah. So I decided to like download an app with Calm and was like, okay, what happens if you actually sit still? And thought that I was doing it all wrong, and I used to judge people that meditated. Like, I was so judgmental, right? And then I put it down on myself. I'm like, wait a second. I've been telling myself, I've been testing my mind by doing all these hard things physically and doing like really long journeys, like endurance events and stuff. And I've never really tested my mind, you know? Sitting still for 5 minutes is the hardest thing. Just face my thoughts and actually hear myself.
I love hearing that because I teach meditation and studied under Deepak, and it's still such an intimidating thing, even for my husband. Like, once in a while, I can get him to sit, but once he does it, he's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And it can be so simple.
Yeah. It was with it's Calm at the beginning, and then I, you know, as years went on, I started to explore down like the Joe Dispenza route, and then really committed to doing some deep meditation before I went into the darkness retreat. Okay. And actually managed to get there to this place of like stillness. I was like, wait, this is the hardest shit I've ever done.
Okay, so let's talk darkness retreat, which I hear that's where you met our girl Krista Williams.
Yes.
In the dark. I was like, did you see each other's faces before? Because that would be kind of weird. Because how many days is the darkness retreat?
It was 108 hours I stayed in for. So I think that's like 4 nights, 5 days.
Okay, tell me about this. And why?
So this was all of these thoughts that I'm talking about now kind of came to this head where I was like, okay, you've ran and cycled around Iceland. You've support ran through Haiti for 200 miles. Like you've done all these things and you always tell yourself that you're testing your mind, but that's the biggest amount of bullshit ever. You actually get to avoid your thoughts because you're distracted behind momentum or pain or trying to focus on something else to distract you from now, right? Because it's not a comfortable place to be. So I'd heard of the darkness retreat multiple times, but it's never really said much to me. I'd been on this deep journey of trying to find more answers and seeking for more with plant medicine and doing all these interesting journeys myself. And then I thought, you know what? Why don't I go somewhere with nothing? And someone said something about this darkness retreat. Aaron Alexander, I'm not sure if you know Aaron. He's also local to here. And I was like, dude, can you ask if they have another room? Like, I feel like I need to go sit in that room alone and like go face myself and lift the hood, right? And like see who's underneath and all these things that I think that I've achieved or found or healed. Like, let's see if that's true or not. Because this is a chance for me to be totally vulnerable. Yeah. I'm alone. Like we're together, but on separate caves on the land. And go see who you are. Like go meet yourself for the first time. Like really, really go meet yourself. So I did. And it was a wild experience.
What's that process? Is someone in the room with you?
No, you're totally alone. So I got there, I think 1 or 2 nights prior to going in. So you can get familiar with your room. It's a beautiful setup. It's very cozy. It's all made by the material from the land, by the people that live on the land. And this little cave with a bed, a bath, meditation area, a little bench for you to sit out to eat, and a bathroom with a sink and a toilet. Okay. So I got to know my surroundings, like touch the walls and stuff. And then what's crazy about it is I'm like, they're going to search my bags. There's got to be like no power. Maybe they're going to lock the doors. And you get there and they're like, just blow the candles out when you're ready. And it's like, what? I'm in control? Wait, what? They're like, yeah, there's actually light switches in the room. If you ever panic, you have the total control and option to turn the lights on. The doors aren't locked. You leave when you want. So I think knowing all those things.
So it's not like the escape room. I won't do the escape room.
No. No, you're not locked in. And I think because of that, the guy that runs it, Sky Cave Darkness Retreats, I asked him, I was like, wait, you're not going to like police it? He goes, if you're going to turn the lights on, why are you here, Hannah? I'm like, touche. Great question. And then because I knew I had the option to, the fear of being in the dark kind of left. It was like, if I want to leave at any time, I can. Yeah. Right. If I want to light a candle, I can. And that for some reason for me made it feel less intimidating and more like, why are you here? Like show up for you. Like this is why you're here. You know your intentions for being here. And it was wild. Someone drops off food to you. They say it's every 24 hours. You hope that it is because you have zero concept of time.
Oh my gosh, how was that? Was there anxiety at any point that you had to breathe through?
Absolutely. The first 3 days was straight up like, I'm going to like die in here. Like I'm fighting this. Like I was at first, I'm a very organized person with time scheduling and blocking out hours and minutes and travel. And it was that. It was like, okay, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to bath. That's probably going to take about an hour. And then I'm going to do a workout. And then I'm going to meditate. And then I'm going to eat. And I'm going to ration my food. I'm going to count my olive. Like just craziness, right? And that was like that for the first 72 hours. And then something happened where I just like melted. It just melted totally into this darkness and realized like, this is what it feels like to not be in a doing mindset. I've never stopped. I've never sat with myself. There's always a distraction, whether it's picking up your book right now or playing with these or reading my phone or listening to music or meditating with guidance or whatever. There's always something around us, going outside, looking at stuff. Like we've never actually been bored. Yeah. I don't know about you. I had never been bored in my life. So getting past that fight, something happened. They say that DMT is naturally released into your brain once that happens. And maybe it was. I didn't have any crazy psychedelic moments until I left. But I just surrendered and just totally like felt like I was melting. And every emotion you could possibly think of came up, from rage to like uncontrolled laughter to crazy sadness. Like, so
would you scream when you're in there?
Oh, yeah. Scream. Cry. Cry.
And people can hear you, but they know you're okay.
No one's there.
Like,
you're totally alone.
No. I mean, I know you're alone in the room, but how close are people who work there?
Really far away.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful plot of land, and these 3 cabins, caves, whatever you want to call them, are tucked up in the mountains. And Krista was far away from me. Aaron wasn't that far away from me, but it's all soundproof, so no one could really hear you. They do the mental check on you when they drop off your phone and the food. Sorry,
You're like, I want my phone.
God, let me call someone. When they drop off your food, they ask you, you know, and Scott would leave like the most incredible words of wisdom and leave me. I'm like, well, fuck, what do I do with that? You know, like, oh my gosh. And it was cool. But he would check on us, and depending on where you're at, he would spend a certain amount of time with you to make sure you're okay.
So then what? You cry, you rage.
Yeah.
But you found something out about yourself.
Yeah. I think around day 3, when I'd stopped trying to fill time with scheduling and brushing my teeth and trying to see how long I could have the taste of toothpaste or eat something and wait to see how long it would, like, it was psycho stuff that I was doing. And it was starting to really highlight, like, you need to chill out. And when I did, I just had this crazy ability. I've suppressed a lot of memories from my childhood. And of course, there's trauma that comes along with that. And everything that I had suppressed, I was able to revisit. Like the feeling of carpet in my childhood home, the sound of wind chimes in the backyard, like really having these vivid memories of like, it felt like it was like a flick book, you know, going so quickly. And I went back and I realized that all these stories that I told myself, it made me really angry at people in my life, at people or just events that had happened to me, right? But really, I went back and was like, oh, wait, was it that way?
Yeah.
Or was that the story that I've made up about that situation? And had this opportunity to go back and really revisit all these things that I think that I'd held against people in my life and revisit them with a totally different perspective. And I found a lot of forgiveness and gratitude rather than anger, like the recognition thing, you know, did I not get enough attention as a child? Did I, you know, like all these things.
Have you ever done the meditation, not past life regression, but like a regression meditation where you're guided through your childhood? And I imagine that in a dark room like that, you could do this, and some people can actually bring themselves back into their mother's womb.
Whoa, I haven't, but I've heard about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did it once when I was at a retreat with Deepak Chopra, and he led it, and I was in my mommy's womb.
That's wild. It's fascinating, right?
You're going to try that now.
I am definitely going to look into that.
When your baby's napping, lock yourself in a dark room.
Maybe right now is not the time with a 1-year-old, right? But at some point, that sounds fascinating. Yeah. And I'd never been able to do that. And I just like was able to dig in and go down layers and layers and layers. And it was really hard, don't get me wrong, but I came out with like an unbelievable amount of lightness and happiness and gratitude, forgiveness and love. And it was a significantly different experience for me than it was for Krista and for Aaron.
Wow. So you come out of there and you go home.
Yeah.
How do you get back into the real world?
I did it horribly wrong.
You just sort of like threw yourself in?
I had a full film production team at my house ready to film a new program. Literally.
Were you in the dark retreat, like writing out workouts and
no,
like practicing?
I actually wasn't, which is great. And anytime I wanted to lean on my coping mechanisms, I didn't. So every time I wanted to work out after that day 3, I was like, no, I had like prayer beads. Like, you're going to sit here and you're going to breathe. I had essential oils and prayer beads and like chimes. Yeah. And these were my pillars of strength while I was in there, because everything else was just, I started to recognize anytime you're uncomfortable, you move. And I do believe in moving the energy. I do think that's a huge part of my way of dealing with life. And I love fitness for that purpose. But I'm also hyper aware of the fact that it's a great way to avoid and to escape and to get as far away from my thoughts as possible. So every time I wanted to do that, I wouldn't let myself.
Oh, wait, I want to go back to why, like, do you choose when to leave, or do they knock and say, your time's up?
They ask you, like, what do you think? And I said, I want to, because they have a recommendation that you do 4 nights, 5 days. And day 2, day 3, I was really finding it hard to want to stay in. And then towards the end of day 3, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm on the edge of getting somewhere and I don't want to leave. Yeah. And every voice in my head was telling me to, probably because I was getting closer to this place that I've been trying to avoid my whole life. And so, yeah, they give you a choice. And they say, do you want to come out or do you want to stay? And I was like, no, I'll stay. And then once I knew that Aaron was out, I knew that Krista was out, I was like, I want to go out. Because I wanted time. I knew that production team were at my house and I had like 2 more nights.
I got things to do.
Yeah. I wanted to be able to integrate and like be alone and just be on the land until I had to go back to normal life. Yeah. But this is something that's really interesting. So a year and a half before I went into the darkness retreat, my husband and I had been trying to get pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no success. And it got into that. I actually remember the beginning of the year, sorry, end of the year, I was like, man, maybe we just stop trying. It's not our time. We're having our house renovated. Like, this is not the time to bring a kid into the world, you know? And then literally the day after I got home from the darkness retreat, I see my husband
Mm-hmm.
and I get pregnant.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
You were ready.
Yeah.
You found your why. You found who are on the path to find out who you really are, who you want to be, how you really want to show up as you to others. And then you were ready to bring another life in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was like, oh, actually, I really like who I am. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to run. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many sides to all of us, but you're actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, don't avoid it.
Wow, that's really cool. I was listening to something where you talk about anxiety, and you already mentioned that you had been very judgmental in the past and judgmental of anxiety, and that there actually was a time where you started experiencing it and realizing that, oh shit, this is a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think age has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
I think I was so naive. I didn't understand the healing world. I didn't understand meditation. And now you look at that and you could see very clearly, like, everything that I didn't understand, I needed so much of, right? It's like,
Yes.
if I'm not comfortable to do it, I'm going to judge those that do, you know?
Mhm.
And so then I started experiencing like real life.
Yeah.
I think I had a very I started doing business very young. I
Mm-hmm.
opened up the gym when I was 23. I had no idea who I was or what I was doing. You know, I never had time for that.
Yeah.
Never had a real job. I went from bartending to being an entrepreneur. I still
Mhm.
haven't got work experience. You know, the only work experience I have is building my own business. So there was, which some people may think is cool. Like, I think I did myself a bad there. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't really get to experience how to build teams, deal with authority, like deal with so much, right? And then I remember when, like, it will always, like, the first bad thing happened in business, just couldn't understand it, couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And then all this anxiety, anxious thoughts started to come up, and like, oh wait, this is what people are talking about. Like,
Oh wait, and that's why they meditate.
yeah,
Got
that's
it.
why it all makes sense. And how dare I, you know? I was so running from all of that. And just, I don't know, that was my way of coping.
Yeah, I get it. So I want to shift a little to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I mean, same here. I didn't go to college. I mean, I went twice, but I dropped out twice. I was going for kinesiology, but I just started working. So where did you get to where you are now? Can you explain your business now so people understand?
Yeah, so I have built an online fitness enterprise. So there's many different sides of my business, but it started initially by building social media and selling fitness programs through my channels.
Mhm.
And ever since, it's like kind of evolved into an apparel company and retreats, events that we do. And I also do, which is the most fulfilling part right now, is I've got 10 years of experience in the industry. I figured out how to do this and have fun while you're doing it. And
Mhm.
now I'm helping other women too go online and scale their online fitness businesses through the DOFA Academy, which is the Digital Online Fitness Academy. And that's my zone of genius, I realize.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to a woman who wants to do it? Because you just do it. That's like some people are like, you just go do it. But what really, maybe 2 tips on someone who wants to create their online business in fitness, but they're scared because it's oversaturated. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
heard that when we started Tone It Up. Like, why would you start? You know, we were both in the fitness industry, but came together to create on YouTube and before Instagram. And there's like, why would you pursue a fitness career? It's saturated. Like,
For sure.
there's a lot of out of shape people
Yeah.
out there.
That need you,
Yeah.
right? It's so true. And I actually was thinking about that on my way here. I know you guys were pioneers in this space. And I think what you did is exactly what I'm going to share now, which was you both had a personal interest and passion that align with fitness. And then you guys started a movement.
Mm.
You literally started a movement when no one else was. And you made this lifestyle of finding harmony amongst fitness and fun and social and community, and you made it happen that way. And so if anyone's trying to do this, it would be that, is first of all, go on a personal journey of like, what is it that you want to do? You have to feel passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to burn out, or you're going to try and morph yourself into someone else that's not you, and then
Yes.
find a lot of
And
an
then
alignment
burnout.
there. Exactly. And then burnout. So that would be number one. And then number two is understanding what kind of mission you want to do. What's the idea behind your brand? Like what, there's a big difference between starting a brand and starting a business. One is not better than the other. But if you're trying to build a brand, which is what you have done and what I have done too, then what is the identity that you want to portray? What is the mission of the brand? And where do you want to go? And how do you want to impact the world? So I think understanding those two things is the deep, your totem pole, if you will. And then from there, it's all the rest you can figure out,
Yeah, I would say even like really whiteboarding it out
Oh,
and
yeah.
visually and then writing and meditating on it and
For sure.
giving yourself that space to sit in silence
Yeah.
and be creative
Yeah.
and really plan it out. There was a community question, a big fan of yours. She's like, I love her. She's like, I
Uh-huh.
want to know how Hannah is balancing new motherhood and being married and with someone for so long. And that transition, obviously, the relationship between you and your husband is different now
Yeah.
with child, and your fitness career and your personal workouts.
Yeah.
So lots of things. How are you doing it now?
How am I doing
How
it
are you
well?
doing
That's a
it?
good question. I think something that I've been able to do pretty well over the years is to that point that we just talked about. I've managed to make like my personal goals part of my business.
Mhm.
So whenever I got pregnant, that was a big deal for me, right? I'm not sure if you've ever experienced this in your life with or without a child. It's the same concept where I've taken so much pride in being the boss and like being this female leader and CEO. And I loved that for so many years.
Mhm.
And then something happens in life. For me, it was pregnancy.
Mhm.
It could be anything that pops up in life where it's like, actually, you know what? Like at this very moment, I don't want to be a boss. I want to be an employee. Like I'd love to be able to check in and check out and take my maternity leave or take some leave, right? Sick days and escape from this world with this amount of responsibility. So it took a lot of like understanding during my pregnancy that helped me soften and surrender into what motherhood would be and really finding myself, because I think the fear of what society puts on women of like, once you have a child, your life is over and you have to forget about your personal goals and you have to forget about all these things. Well, I understand that may be the case for some. That's not the case for me. I know what makes me tick and I like to do hard things. And for a long time, I used to think doing hard things was a bad thing. And through all of this journey that we've talked about today, it's like I've realized, no, I just think you like to do things like that and find edges that are a little bit further outside of yourself and see what you can do with your potential. And once I started to recognize that and then realize my number one priority is obviously being Brixton Kai's mom. That's my son's name. And that will never change. But I can do that and I can do other things too, because in order to show up for him in the best way, I need to be fulfilled. I need to feel good. And fitness is a huge part of who I am. And I love it. And I don't want to give that up. So I'm so grateful that my husband and I have spent the year in the RV and figured out how to communicate, figured out who we are as independents as well as a unit, and have a massive amount of respect for each other's personal goals and dreams and support each other to be the best versions of ourselves. So we have a really solid way of doing it. And we now have a nanny. I want to put that out there. So I'm very blessed and grateful for that. But for the first 7 months of Brixton's life, it was just him and I with no family around, just us two. And we made it work. If it meant less hours of sleep, we would hand off, maybe less time together, because we understand that this stage in our life is not about necessarily us as like primarily, right? It's about raising our son and making sure that we're both happy. And we carve out time for date night. We carve out time to communicate during the day, but he's on daddy duty while I go work out and do my thing. And then, my day before the nanny came in, I started being a mom at 2 p.m. every day.
Yeah.
So if I had personal goals and business stuff that I needed to get done, that meant I'd just have to wake up earlier and earlier and earlier to fit it in, because at 2 p.m. phones are done, computers are down, and I'm in mum mode. So just great time management skills.
Oh, you know what I found with time management skills? I was like on it, and I'm still trying to get back after COVID. So
Seriously, I feel you there.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But okay, aside from fitness and meditation, do you have any must-do unique self-care routines?
I know it's fashionable right now, but I have been doing this for a while, and it's not because it's fashionable, because it actually does a lot for me. But I am obsessed with cold plunging and sauntering. That's my jam.
I know. Everyone's like, what's your biggest biohack? I'm like, I'm a boring biohack baddie. I cold plunge sauna workout.
Yeah.
I'm good.
That's
it.
that's all I got. That's all I got for you. I don't have anything else, honestly.
I have a PEMF thing. But
yeah.
I don't really know.
yeah. I don't use those either. I'm sure there are great things about them,
Yeah.
but for me, I have my sauna and a timer. The plunge is always ready at the end of the day or before the day. That's my jam.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you're like, a lot of people have experienced it, and it's not in every town, but fill your bathtub with ice
Yeah.
and experience how you feel. Because I said earlier, I don't drink a lot of caffeine, or if I have an energy drink, I take like shots and have like tons of empty or open cans. But that cold plunge,
Oh, yeah.
and
Rejuvenating.
meditating.
Yes.
All right, Hannah. So where can we find you?
The social platform I'm on the most is Instagram.
Yeah.
HannahEden_fitness.
Mhm.
But all the things in my world are all on my website at HannahEdenFitness.com.
Right, and you have those PDFs there too.
I do. I still
I'm gonna
have those
go, like,
PDFs there.
I am bringing PDFs back.
I love them. You know, I'm going to fully support that, and I'm going to get your next release.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Hannah, for coming down here, and good luck at your race.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll be posting. Do you have a goal?
I do. You know, for the June 1st, which I did in Hawaii, I'd never done a triathlon before. This is very on brand for me.
Let me just go in.
Yeah, I tried, but it got called out while we
Oh.
were in our swimsuit because of
Yeah.
rain, right? I was like, I should probably do something before I lead up to this half Ironman. And I went in and I have a fantastic coach, and we were like, let's set some goals for what this is. And it was smile as often as possible, say thank you to as many volunteers as possible, and just be grateful that you get to do this. I had my family there. We were in Hawaii. Like,
Yeah.
you couldn't get any better. So I did. And that landed me freaking third place, and I qualified for world championships.
Of course.
So that's the goal.
Because if she does something, she
Gotta go.
She does it.
So the goal with the fall is to smile, be grateful, thank as many volunteers, and let's see where that takes me.
Yeah, I had it when you were talking about the dark retreat. I had this half Ironman moment, the San Diego one. And there's like this massive hill,
Oh,
and the bike ride, what's 54 miles, and I wasn't around a lot of people. And like that hill, I like passed guys that were getting off their bike and walking. I was not third place at all. But anyways, there was this moment because you're alone on your bike and you can't listen to music. You're just there. And I screamed, I cried. I was like, I'm never gonna pee on myself because I peed on
I
myself.
pay myself all the time, so let's go.
People are like, you pee on yourself? Some people have to poop too.
Yeah. I'm not getting any less time because I need to pee. I'm going to definitely pee on myself. No problem.
All right. Well, we're gonna follow you.
Thank you.
And you better get at least second place.
No pressure. I'll do my best. Thank you so much for having me. This has been
Thank
such
you.
a cool conversation.
Thank you.
The big silence. The big silence. The big